Are you aware of the miraculous, fantastic, unbelievable events that take place in Flavius Josephus, the Wars of the Jews? Because we take this as history, but for some reason, the events that take place, such as I'm about to read in Book 6, Section 288, are hard to accept as truth. Thus, we're the miserable people persuaded by these deceivers, and such as belied God Himself, while they did not attend nor give credit to the signs that were so evident, and did so plainly foretell their future desolation, talking about the Jews, His own people, like men infatuated without either eyes to see or minds to consider, did not regard the denunciations that God made to them. Thus there was a star resembling a sword which stood over the city, and a comet that continued a whole year. Thus also before the Jews' rebellion and before those commotions which preceded the war, when the people were come in great crowds to the feast of unleavened bread on the 8th day of the month of Nisan, and at the 9th hour of the night, so great a light shone around the altar and the holy house, that it appeared to be bright daytime, which lasted for half an hour. This light seemed to be a good sign to the unskillful, but was so interpreted by the sacred scribes as to portend those events that followed immediately upon it. At the same festival also a heifer, as she was led by the high priest to be sacrificed, brought forth a lamb in the midst of the temple. Moreover, the eastern gate of the inner court of the temple, which was of brass and vastly heavy, had been with difficulty shut by 20 men, and rested upon a basis armed with iron, and had bolts fastened very deep into the firm floor, which was there made of the entire stone, was seen to be open of its own accord about the 6th hour of the night. Now those that kept watching the temple came up hereupon running to the captain of the temple, and told him of it, whom then came up thither, and not without great difficulty was able to shut the gate again. This also appeared to the vulgar to be very happy prodigy, as if God did thereby open the gate of happiness. But the men of learning understood it, that the security of the holy house was dissolved of its own accord, and that the gate was opened for the advantage of their enemies. So God was trying to let the enemies in, according to Josephus, who was a servant of Vespasian, and Vespasian was a servant of Serapis. So these publicly declared that the signal foreshadowed the desolation that was coming upon them. Beside these, a few days after the feast, on the 21st day of the month Jar, a certain prodigious and incredible phenomenon appeared. I suppose the account of it would seem to be a fable, were it not related by those who saw it, and were not the events that followed of it so considerable a nature as to deserve such signals. For before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running around among the clouds and surrounding of cities. Amazing. Moreover, at the feast which we call Pentecost, as the priests were going by night into the inner court of the temple, as their custom was to perform the sacred ministration, they said that in the first place they felt a quaking and heard a great noise, and after that they heard a sound as of a multitude saying, "Let us remove hence." But what is still more terrible, there was one Jesus, the son of Aeneas, a plebeian, and a husbandman who 4 years before the war began, and at the time when the city was in a very great peace and prosperity, came to the feast where it is our custom for everyone to make tabernacles to God in the temple, began on a sudden to cry aloud, a voice from the east, a voice from the west, a voice from the four winds, a voice against Jerusalem and the holy house, a voice against his bridegrooms and the brides, a voice against the whole people. This was his cry. And as he went about day and night in the lanes of the city, however, certain of the most eminent among the populace had great indignation at this dire cry of his, and took up the man and gave him a great number of severe stripes. Yet did not he either say anything for himself, or anything peculiar to those that chastised him, but still went on with the same words which he cried before. Hereupon our rulers, supposing, as the case proved to be, that this was some sort of divine fury, and the man, brought him to the Roman procurator, where he was whipped till his bones lay bare. Yet he did not make any supplication for himself, nor shed any tears, but turning his voice to the most lamentable tone possible, at every stroke of the whip his answer was, Woe to Jerusalem. I'll let you read the rest, because you have to believe this as history. The events of soldiers and chariots in the sky, the events of Josephus basically talking negative about the Israelites. You have to believe this stuff. That a comet was in the sky for a whole year. You have to believe this stuff and accept it as history, because we are taught this happened in 70 AD, and we adjusted our calendars and everything for Jesus and also this event that took place. Learn and discern.